Brother borrowed my car and totaled it on purpose. Judge made him pay double after seeing texts. The judge didn't even look up at first. She just read, slow and silent, lips barely moving, while my brother shifted beside his lawyer like a kid forced to sit through a lecture. My palms were sweaty around the folder in my lap, the cheap manila edges digging into my fingers, and all I could hear was the soft whir of the ceiling fan and the paper-thin rustle of those printed screenshots as the judge flipped to the next page. Then she stopped, like fully stopped. Her eyes lifted over the top of her glasses and locked onto my brother, so sharply he actually flinched. "Mr. Carter," she said, voice flat in that courtroom way that means someone is about to have a very bad day. "Did you send these messages?" My brother's mouth opened, then closed. He looked sideways at his lawyer. His lawyer did that tiny shoulder shift like, "Answer the question." My brother swallowed and tried to laugh, like this was all exaggerated. "It was a joke," he said, and the judge just stared at him until the air felt heavy enough to crush me. It was a Tuesday night when he asked to borrow my car, and I remember it because I had just taken my shoes off and my feet were aching from being on them all day. I'd barely gotten dinner started, pasta boiling, sauce warming, when my phone lit up with his name. I stared at it for a second because I already knew it wouldn't be a normal call. It's never a normal call with my brother, Mason. It's always a need, always a problem that somehow becomes everyone else's responsibility. I answered anyway because I'm stupidly loyal to family in the way you don't even realize is a flaw until you're standing in court with receipts. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice neutral. He didn't even say hi back. He just went, "I need your car. Like tonight. Real quick. I'll bring it back." I should have said no right there. The same part of me tried to. "Mason, I'm not comfortable with that," I said. "You're not on my insurance." He made that annoyed exhale noise, like I was being dramatic. "It's one night. I'm not going to crash it. I just need to pick something up." "What's something?" I asked, and I hated myself as I asked because it sounded like I was negotiating instead of setting a boundary. "A thing," he said, instantly defensive. "Why are you interrogating me?" "Because you're 30 years old and you still talk like you're 14, I thought, but what I said was, because it's my car." He went quiet for a beat, and I could almost feel him deciding which angle would work. Then he softened his voice into the one he uses when he wants something, but also wants to pretend he's not asking. "Come on, you're my sister. I'm in a bind. I'll fill your tank. I'll bring it back cleaner than it is now. I just need you to not make this a thing." And the stupidest part? I almost said yes right then, just to avoid making it a thing, because that's how our family works. Whoever complains becomes the problem, not the person causing the chaos. But I'd had a long day, and my patience felt thin and brittle, and I thought about my car sitting outside. My one decent thing I'd managed to keep together through rent hikes and layoffs, and me rebuilding my savings after helping my parents with a medical bill last year. I thought about the way Mason treated other people's stuff like it was disposable, because he's never had to replace anything himself. So I said no. The silence that followed was sharp. Then he laughed once, short and mean. "Wow," he said. "Okay, so you're really going to do this." "Do what?" I asked, my voice getting tight. "Act like you're better than me, because you have a car," he snapped. "God, you're such a—" He caught himself, but not really. "You're so selfish. It's one night. I'm asking for help. I help you constantly," I said, and I could hear my own voice starting to shake. "And it's never enough. You always want more, and you don't take care of anything." He went colder. "Fine," he said. "Whatever. I'll figure it out. Don't worry. I won't bother you again." And he hung up, like I was the one who'd done something cruel. I stood in my kitchen staring at my phone like it had slapped me. My pasta water boiled over a second later, hissing on the burner, and that stupid domestic sound made me want to scream. I turned the heat down, moved the pot, tried to calm my body down because my heart was hammering like I'd just run upstairs. I told myself I'd done the right thing. I told myself boundaries are normal. I told myself he'd find another ride and sulk for a few days and then go back to pretending nothing happened. Then 20 minutes later, my doorbell rang. I froze. My body knew before my brain caught up. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole, and there he was on my porch, hands shoved in his hoodie pockets, jaw set, eyes hard. I didn't open the door right away. I just stared at him through the peephole, like maybe if I waited long enough he'd leave. He rang again. Longer this time. Then he knocked like he owned the place. I opened the door a crack. "Mason, what are you doing?" He leaned forward into the crack, smiling like we were two friends catching up. "I'm here for the car," he said. I said no. He shrugged. "Yeah, on the phone. I figured you'd calm down." "I'm not calming down," I said. I tried to push the door closed, but he put his hand on it. Flat palm, firm pressure. "Don't do that," he said, voice low. My stomach dropped. "Get your hand off my door." He tilted his head, eyes flicking past me into my apartment like he was looking for something. "Where are the keys?" My whole body went hot. "No." He sucked in a breath through his teeth like I was embarrassing him. "Are you seriously going to make me stand out here begging?" "Yes," I said, and the word came out like a dare. For a second, his face did something I'd seen before. This flash of anger where you can tell he wants to break something just to feel powerful. Then his expression smoothed out into faux calm. "Okay," he said. "Then I'll ask Mom, because she'll tell you to do the right thing." And that's exactly what he did. He stepped off my porch, pulled out his phone, and called our mother right there, pacing in front of my door like a man putting on a show. I could hear my mother's voice faintly through the speaker because he had it loud. "Why are you at her house?" she snapped. Immediate irritation. At me, not him. "What did you do now?" "I didn't do anything," Mason said, syrupy. "She's refusing to help me. I just need her car for an hour. She's being, I heard the sigh. That deep, exhausted parental sigh that always ended with me being expected to give in. "Put her on," my mom said. I didn't want to. I knew how it would go. But Mason held the phone toward the crack in the door, eyebrows raised like go on. Like he was a mediator and not the problem. I took the phone with shaking fingers. Mom. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded immediately. "No greeting." "No, are you okay?" "He needs help." "I'm not doing anything," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I said no because he's not on my insurance and he's reckless. "He's your brother," she said, like that was the whole argument. "And it's my car," I said. "I can't afford to replace it if something happens." My mom's tone went hard. "So, you think he's going to wreck it? You think that low of him?" I looked through the crack at Mason standing there, listening, a small smile tugging at his mouth. "I think he's irresponsible," I said. "That's not the same thing." "You're being stubborn," my mom snapped. "Give him the keys. He'll bring it back." "Mom." "Don't mom me," she cut in. "You always do this. You always need to be right. Just help for once without making it a moral issue." I felt something inside me just slide into place. Like, oh, this is why he is the way he is. Because every time he pushes, someone blames the person who resists. I took a breath. "No." There was a pause. Then my mother said, "I see fine. Don't call me when you need something." I handed the phone back through the crack. Mason took it, listened to my mom still going, then ended the call with a dramatic sigh like, "See what you made me do." He looked at me, eyes bright with something ugly. "Congratulations," he said. "You got Mom mad at you too." "Leave," I said. My voice sounded smaller than I wanted, but it was real. He leaned close to the door. "You know what?" he said softly. "You deserve what you get." And then he walked away. I didn't sleep much that night. My brain kept replaying his face when he said it. Not angry exactly. More like satisfied. Like he planted something. The next morning, I went out to my parking spot and my car wasn't there. At first, my brain refused to process it. I stood there blinking at empty concrete like I'd lost my sense of direction. I walked a little forward, then back like maybe I was in the wrong spot. Then the adrenaline hit so fast my hands went numb. I pulled my phone out and called Mason immediately, fingers slippery with sweat. He didn't answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. I called my building manager. I called the towing company my building uses. Nobody had towed it. My car hadn't been moved legally. I called the police to report it stolen, and I felt ridiculous saying stolen because I knew exactly who stole it. But my voice shook anyway when I gave the description. While I was on hold, my mother texted me. "Mason said you were being weird last night. Are you two okay?" My vision went blurry. I typed back, "My car's gone." He took it. 3 dots appeared. Then, he wouldn't do that. And then, because the universe loves timing, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, and a calm voice said, "Hi, is this the owner of a gray Corolla plate?" And he read my plate number. "This is Officer Daniels. Your vehicle has been located." My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might throw up. "Where?" I whispered. There was a brief pause like he was choosing words. "There was an accident early this morning. Your vehicle is totaled." I remember making a sound that wasn't a word, like a choke. Is everyone okay?" "The driver sustained minor injuries," he said. "No one else was involved." The driver. Not my brother. The driver. Like Mason was a stranger who just happened to be inside my life, destroying it. "Can I ask," the officer continued, "who had access to your keys?" My legs went weak. I sat down right on the curb. "My brother," I said, and I hated how small my voice sounded. "He didn't have permission." There was another pause. "We'll need a statement," he said, "and you may want to come to the precinct." When I got to the precinct, they told me Mason had been found walking near the crash site, bleeding from his forehead, telling anyone who would listen that the car belonged to his sister and that I'd let him borrow it. He'd said he swerved to avoid an animal. No witnesses saw an animal. The road was straight. The guardrail was mangled like he'd hit it hard. The officer showed me photos. My car, my reliable, boring little car that got me to work in grocery stores and doctor appointments, was crumpled like someone had stomped on it. The front end was destroyed. The airbags blown. The windshield spiderwebbed. I stared at it until my eyes burned. I called my insurance. They asked if Mason was an authorized driver. I said no. They asked if the car had been stolen. I said yes. They asked if I'd filed a police report. I said yes. They said they'd investigate, but because it involved family and alleged permission, it could get complicated. Complicated. That word haunted me for weeks. Mason, of course, called me that afternoon. Not to apologize. To yell. "You told the cops it was stolen?" He snapped the second I answered. "Yes," I said, voice shaking. "Because you stole it." "I didn't steal it," he said, like the definition was up for debate. "I borrowed it." "You're my sister." I said no. I said, and I could hear my breathing getting fast. "You took it anyway. My car is totaled. Do you understand that?" He went quiet, then said, with this weird calm, "It's just a car." That's when I knew. That's when the pieces clicked into something uglier than reckless. Because if it was an accident, he'd be panicking. He'd be swearing. He'd be crying. Mason loves drama when he feels wronged. He loves apologies when he wants sympathy. But his voice was flat, dismissive, like the result had been the point. "You did this on purpose," I whispered and my stomach turned. He laughed, a short huff. "Oh my God, get over yourself." "Why?" I asked, and I hate that my voice cracked on that word. "Why would you?" "Because you needed a wake-up call," he snapped, and suddenly the anger was there. "You don't get to treat me like I'm some criminal. You don't get to act like you're better than me. You humiliated me last night. In front of Mom." I said no. I repeated. "That's not humiliation. That's a boundary." "Whatever," he said, and I could hear him shifting like he was pacing. "Insurance will cover it." Stop being dramatic. But insurance didn't just cover it. Because once the adjusters started digging, it became my word against his. Mason told my mom I'd basically agreed, and then panicked. My mom backed him because of course she did. "You know your brother," she told the adjuster on a recorded call, voice sweet with certainty. "He wouldn't steal. She's exaggerating. Exaggerating. Like my car wasn't sitting in a junk lot." My insurance ended up covering part of our theft, but not without a fight. I had to pay my deductible. I had to rent a car for 2 weeks because public transport to my job is a nightmare. I had to take days off work to handle paperwork, statements, phone calls. Every time I hung up the phone, my hands would shake like my body was purging adrenaline. And Mason? Mason posted on Facebook about toxic family who only care about money and people who would throw you under the bus. I saw it because a cousin sent it to me with a WTF. Mason got sympathy comments from people who didn't know the story. My mom liked the post. That's when I stopped crying and started getting angry in a way that felt cold and focused. Because here's the part people don't tell you. When someone destroys your property, they don't just take a thing. They take your time, your stability, your sense of safety. I found myself listening for footsteps in my hallway. I started hiding my spare keys in weird places. I double-checked my locks. I felt stupid doing it, like I was overreacting, until I remembered Mason standing on my porch saying, "You deserve what you get." 2 weeks later, I got a message request from someone I hadn't talked to in years, Jenna, Mason's ex. The one everyone in my family called crazy because she dared to break up with him publicly after he cheated. She wrote, "Hey, I saw what happened. I am sorry. I have something you might need." I stared at that line for a full minute. My gut twisted. Part of me wanted to ignore it because involving Jenna felt like opening another messy door. But another part of me, the part that was done being the family punching bag, typed back, "What do you have?" She replied with 3 screenshots. They were texts from Mason to a friend the night he came to my door. The timestamps were right after he left my porch. "Mason," she said no, like she's above me. "Friend, LOL, what did you expect?" "Mason, I'm taking it anyway. Watch." "Friend, bro, don't." "Mason, I'm gonna teach her. She thinks she can embarrass me." "Friend, don't be stupid." "Mason, if she wants to act like I'm a risk, I'll show her what risk looks like." My stomach went ice cold. My hand started shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. Jenna sent another message. "He sent these to my old number by accident first. Then he unsent. But I got notifications. I screenshotted." I just sat on my couch staring at my phone like it was radioactive. Those texts weren't reckless. They were intent. They were a threat turned into action. I replied, "Can you email these to me? With the date, time visible?" She did. No drama. No told you so. Just facts. And that's when I decided I wasn't letting this be family stuff anymore. I filed in small claims court for the deductible, rental costs, lost wages from days off, and the difference between what insurance paid and what the car was actually worth. I didn't go wild with numbers. I went with what I could prove. Receipts, statements, pay stubs. I kept it boring and clean because I'd learned that the more emotional you sound, the more people treat you like the problem. When Mason got served, he lost his mind. He called me screaming. He showed up at my apartment again. He left voicemails calling me a snake. My mom called me crying, saying I was tearing the family apart. My dad, who usually stays out of things, texted me, "Is this really necessary?" I typed back, "He totaled my car on purpose." My dad replied, "He didn't mean to." And that's when I realized my family wasn't confused. They were committed. Court took months. Months of me taking the bus and walking in the rain because I refused to take rides from family out of pride. Months of Mason posting vague quotes about betrayal. Months of my mom trying to guilt me into dropping it. "He's your brother," she kept saying, like it was a spell that should make me forget the junkyard photos. The day of the hearing, I wore a plain black blouse and carried my evidence folder like it was armor. Mason showed up with a lawyer, because of course he did, looking smug in a button-down like he was going to charm his way out of it. My mom sat behind him in the gallery, arms crossed, eyes already glaring at me like I'd ruined her day. I sat alone. When our case got called, I stood at the plaintiff table and my legs felt weirdly light, like my body was floating out of itself. The judge asked me to explain what happened. I didn't embellish. I didn't cry. I walked through the timeline. Refused permission. He took the car anyway. Crash, costs. I handed over the police report, the insurance paperwork, the receipts. Then I handed over the text from Jenna. The judge read them silently. Mason's lawyer objected immediately. "Your Honor, these are unauthenticated." The judge held up a hand without looking away from the page. "I'll determine what weight to give them," she said. Then she asked me, "How did you obtain these?" I told the truth. His ex-girlfriend provided them. The timestamps matched the night he came to my residence. Mason snorted like he couldn't help himself. "She's lying," he muttered, loud enough the judge definitely heard. The judge's eyes lifted. "Mr. Carter," she said, and her tone made the room feel smaller. "You will not speak unless addressed." He sank back, face tightening. Then the judge turned to him and asked the question that started my post. "Did you send these messages?" Mason tried to wiggle out. I text stuff. People take things out of context." "Is that a yes?" the judge asked. His lawyer leaned in and whispered something, probably stopped talking, but Mason couldn't stand not being the main character. "It was a joke," he said again. Like if he said it twice, it would become true. The judge stared at him for a long moment. Then she said, very calmly, "A joke is something where the punchline is humor, not harm. These messages describe an intent to take a vehicle without permission and to teach the owner a lesson by showing her a risk. The vehicle was taken. The vehicle was destroyed. That is not a joke." Mason's face went red. My mom shifted behind him like she wanted to stand up and argue with the judge herself. The judge asked him, "Why did you take the car after you were told no?" Mason's mouth worked like he was chewing his own pride. "Because she always treats me like I'm nothing," he snapped, and in that moment, it wasn't even about me. It was about him needing to punish anyone who didn't comply. The judge nodded once, like she'd reached the end of her patience. "All right," she said. "I've heard enough." She calculated damages in a way that felt surreal, like watching someone put a price tag on your stress. She awarded me my deductible, my rental expenses, my documented lost wages, and the remaining value gap. Then she paused, looked down at the text again, and said, "Given the willful and malicious nature of the conduct as evidenced here, I am also awarding an additional equal amount as punitive damages." I swear my brain didn't understand at first. I actually blinked and looked around like maybe I'd misheard. Mason sat up. "What?" he burst out. The judge didn't flinch. "Double," she said, crisp. "Perhaps next time you will learn that retaliating against family by destroying property is not a lesson you get to teach without consequence." Mason's lawyer started talking quickly about appeals and procedure. My mom made a choke sound behind them. Mason turned around and looked at her like she was supposed to fix it. She couldn't. Afterward, in the hallway, my mom came at me like a storm. "How could you do that to him?" she hissed, eyes wet with anger. I was shaking, but not from fear this time. From adrenaline and this weird sense of finally being seen by someone in authority who didn't care about family unity more than truth. "He did it to himself," I said, voice low. "He's your brother," she insisted, like she had nothing else. "And I was his sister when he stole my car," I said. "When he crashed it. When he texted that he wanted to teach me a lesson." Her face twisted. "Those texts, people say things." I cut her off, sharper than I meant to, but I couldn't stop it anymore. "Stop defending him. Just stop." Mason pushed past us, face furious and embarrassed, and for a second I thought he might come at me physically. He didn't. Maybe because we were in a courthouse hallway with cameras and deputies. Maybe because he finally realized there were consequences he couldn't charm away. He leaned close as he passed and whispered, "You're dead to me." I watched him walk away and felt nothing. Not because it didn't hurt, but because something in me had already let go weeks ago, the moment I saw my crushed car and heard him say, "It's just a car." It took another couple months to actually get the money. Garnishment threats, payment plans, Mason whining to relatives, my mom trying one last time to convince me to be the bigger person. But the court order was the court order. And every time someone tried to guilt me, I'd picture the judge's face as she read those texts. Like she could see the intention underneath all the excuses. I bought a used car with what I got. Not fancy, reliable. I keep my keys in a locked drawer now, which sounds dramatic until you've had your own brother decide your boundaries are a challenge. I don't go to Sunday lunches anymore. I don't answer late-night calls. I've stopped explaining myself to people who hear family and think it means free pass. And the thing that still messes with my head, if I'm being honest, is how close I was to avoiding all of it by just giving him the keys. Because that's what my family wanted, compliance. Keep the peace. Don't make it a thing. But if I'd handed him the keys that night, the story would have been the same. My car would still be totaled. Except everyone would have blamed me for letting him and told me to learn my lesson quietly. The judge made him pay double because the texts proved what I already felt in my bones. It wasn't an accident. It was punishment. And I'm done being the person my family punishes for saying no.